to another episode of Psychonaut Sessions. This is your host, Daniel Moeller. Today we're going to take a look at Dragon Quest number 1 from SilverWolf. As a recap, SilverWolf was a comic line of publications that came out primarily in the mid-80s, focusing specifically on black and white books by Kris Silver, who was the main publisher and writer of most of the books. Interestingly enough, a lot of, I would say, fairly well-known artists got their start there. Or maybe not a lot, maybe just a few. I know Phil Hester and Tim Vigil is one of the big ones. Started with Grips, and then Dragon Quest is another book of his in the SilverWolf line. It really always intrigued me. It's not that it's not highly available. I just picked this up at a comic convention in town, and I mean, I could have gotten on eBay. I try not to get like books that you can possibly find in a dollar bin on eBay, because otherwise you're just paying more shipping than you are for the book. But I found this in a dollar bin at a comic convention, and the guy hosting the booth, I mean, this was the only thing I wanted, and he kept trying to get me to buy the whole box. It was the end of Sunday. He just wanted to go home. He wanted to get rid of boxes. He was like, even trying to just like lower the price. He was like, I lowered the price for a long box for like $25. It was just full of Marvel and DC crap I didn't want, and this was it. And so I was like, really, this is all I want, man. And he's like, well, just take it. So I got it for free. Yay. So let's take a look at this. I've been wanting to tackle this for a while. It's been on my list. Only 2 issues came out, unfortunately, because I really enjoyed it. And it actually kind of surprised me, because I didn't really know anything about it. But so first we got this, typical SilverWolf border, which Kris Silver had for all of his books, and it was a way to make his books stand out from other books on the shelf, which I don't think he really needed, because his books were already kind of unique from other things at the time. A lot of his books tried to kind of push the boundaries a little bit on violence, especially, but I think Kris really tried in his own way to push the boundary in terms of how stories were told in comics. I don't think he was always successful. I still think there was, he did a lot of things that he maybe thought were different, and they really weren't that different. But this one was actually fairly unique when it came to the end. I wouldn't say one of a kind, but I liked it. So let's get into it. This title is just amazing. What a logo. We got the SilverWolf logo on top. But I mean, it blends in so much with the background, though. They probably could have done with a different title logo to stand out, but it's so unique and fun. And then we have a Tim Vigil cover here. Just a lot going on. I've had to look at this cover for a while to just kind of absorb everything that's happening. You got this dragon, a dragon rider with the moon in the background, some kind of cosmic space with a lady's face, and we got her title wizard here, running away from the fire breath of the dragon. So what's interesting is I think that a lot of the fire and probably the cosmic stuff in the background are painted, and then I think the figures are done with marker, and it really makes for a striking color palette, I think. Really enjoy it, and I love the texture of the paint in the background. It's perfect for that fire burst. A lot of fun. I've always enjoyed Tim Vigil's artwork. A lot of his artwork is very risque and not meant for family viewing in any way, shape, or form. I think this book is actually okay. This is back when he was still fairly tame. There is a little bit of violence in it. But other than that, we have our From the Top editorial letter from Kris Silver. So this is, what is this, 86, 87, 86. And this is the end of 86. So he really got his start at the beginning of 86, which is like 86 is the prime year. It's like the golden year for black and white independent books. And it's, if any buddy goes to a dollar bin and they pull out a black and white book, independent book, that looks, older, like pre-2000s, I'm willing to roll the dice and bet that it's either 86 or like 92 or 93, but mostly 86. And he's already talking about problems with late books and whatnot. And I think Kris Silver's problem is, so not only is he, apologizing for the lateness, and here he's talking about again that he was trying to get Rob Liefeld on board to do sketch number 1, and turns out somebody else different did sketch number 1. But he's what's interesting is this is before Rob Liefeld was even a name, and he's like boosting the fact that Rob Liefeld's coming on board. So I just think that's kind of interesting. Also, he's trying to start a game line on top of it, and to create games based upon his comics, as well as other types of software, like a comic book organizer, and blah, blah, blah. So along with starting a new comic book company, having a new line of books, he's trying to start a software company as well, producing games and other types of software. And then he's boasting about the fact of these 20 new titles that he's trying to push out. New titles. So if you know about bubbles bursting, I think that's pretty much why Kris Silver didn't last. Just too much, too soon, got too excited, put all of his eggs into one basket too fast, and they eventually burst, which is a shame because some of the style of SilverWolf and some of the concepts were kind of fun. So anyway, that's the basics of that. Let's jump into the story, into Dragon Quest, and the very first panel, which is this L-shaped panel here, is basically this wizard giving kind of a rundown. So he's kind of like, he's talking, but he's kind of giving the exposition and setup for the story. And it's very video game-like. It's very much like he's talking to someone and saying, I fear we may be too late, and my daughter has been kidnapped by the Lord of Darkness, and blah 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 blah. I don't know if my heroes that I sent to get her will get to her in time. And I didn't know who he was talking to. He was talking to somebody named Gaylor at first, and I thought that was like maybe the lead character, the title character of the book. But I think it was actually his dog he was talking to, because the lead character's name is Kronos. So anyway, so very video game-esque, and then from the very beginning, we are like right in the action. Like that's the only setup, and the rest of this book is just pure action. So we get like this like female henchman of this Lord of Darkness, who's just kind of talking, we've got the Princess Dark Lord and blah, 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 blah. And the princess here is chained up, ready to be eaten and devoured by the Dark Master, Dark Lord. They don't really have a name for him. They just kind of refer to him in this way of like the Dark Lord and whatnot. Excellent splash page. I really like that. Just giving like a little setup at first. And then we got 2-page, just boom. This is where Tim Vigil really, really shines. And if I didn't state before, Tim Vigil, of course, did the artwork, started with Grips and other titles here, and eventually went on to do Faust, which is probably his most well-known outlaw type comic, and Kris Silver wrote. wrote most of the titles. And so, of course, she's just like chained up damsel in distress. And the Lord of Darkness is this evil dragon, and there's like the henchman lady. I mean, just a lot of great detail. That the thing I love most about Tim Vigil's work is his ink work. I mean, I can watch him ink all day long. He's so fluid with it. There's just so much movement, and even just the smallest of things. I mean, this thing she's tied up to just has so much dynamic motion to it, even though it's just a solid rock structure. There's just a lot of life in whatever he produces. So amazing. And then from here, our heroes come in, Kronos and two of his like fellow heroes. So Kronos is like the apprentice of that wizard from the very beginning, and he and the daughter, of course, have a thing. And so Kronos is a very powerful wizard in his own right. And the way he speaks throughout the book, he's kind of equal to the Merlin type figure. So we're very much in this like sword and sorcery fantasy setting, and they immediately are just going in to attack the hordes and fighting the demons of this Lord of Darkness. And we just jump right in, and we get that, just like quintessential like black and white, black blood splatter sort of, very indicative of the outlaw black and white comics of the 80s, which I really love. Kind of a lot of weird, I wouldn't say weird, but just the dialogue is just very heavy in terms of just a lot of talking, a lot of, while they're fighting demons, just speaking to them and like, I will, blah, 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 don't resist me or I'll crush your very skull. Give, fool, I have no time for peons. Yes, that's it. Your will and your mind is mine. Just like a lot of like just exposition in their words of just but describing what they're doing. He's got sorcery powers, and the other two are just like sword masters, it looks like. But I mean, Tim Vigil looks like he's just going all out here with the inks, almost to the point where it's just kind of hard to decipher what's going on in some panels, which I do like. I like having to kind of figure out what's going on sometimes, and makes the comic a sort of puzzle. And, nothing really great with the dialogue that's happening here. It's all just the same stuff repeated over and over. You could probably imagine and fill in the gaps. Oh, I will devour you. And no, Kronos will rescue me. And no, I need your power. And blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's just, very, again, Kris Silver tries, but, the way the execution is, it's very typical of just your run-of-the-mill fantasy. But the strength here is really Tim Vigil. I mean, just the panel layouts that he's trying, and when you see his earlier stuff that came out in '86 with grips, really rough around the edges, you can really tell it's a person's like first comic. But here we're starting to see him mature quite a bit, really stretch himself, and really understanding the power of panel layouts and how each panel needs to find a way to pop. He's getting really cinematic here. And so that's something I really appreciated about this book. And then boom, another double splash page. So the princess is pretty much saying, oh, I'm going to be rescued in time and blah, blah, blah. And so you think, yep, that's going to happen. And you think you get the sense that this dark dragon, Lord of Darkness, is going to, just sit and talk her to death. And then he's like, you know what, forget it. And just grabs her and, is just ready to eat her. What a great panel. And then we see the heroes coming into the cavern. You see this like flaming tongue. I mean, gosh, I love black and white, but this is also a book I wouldn't mind seeing a rendition in color as well, because the way Tim Vigil inks, it's normally conducive to just, black and white books, but there's so much dynamics, there's just so much in the artwork here that it would be cool to see some of it highlighted through color or some sort of ink wash, or Zipatone or something like that. So the henchman lady is like, just eat her already. And man, the dragon's like basically squeezing her and blood is coming out. And then boom, drops her into his gaping, flaming maw and eats her. Like, I didn't see that coming. I was like, what? So completely just eats her alive. I thought she was going to be rescued and but nope. The hero failed. And of course, my love, he's all upset. Not sure what's happening here, but the dragon just starts talking shit on the fact that he just ate the guy's lover. So he starts attacking the dragon. And so then a battle ensues, and then so none of this needs to be read because it's just they're basically just talking the same shit about how one is more powerful over the other pretty much for the rest of the book. And the next few pages is just this continuing battle between the two of them, where Kronos is just enraged. What is interesting here, though, too, is that more hordes come in, and the power of the Dark Lord has increased because he ate the princess and needed to feed on fear and innocence, blah, 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 blah. And his, Kronos's team starts getting picked off and killed off. So we don't even get to experiencing anything with them. And I guess because the dragon ate the princess, he was able to shapeshift and morph into kind of like a half dragon, half man being. And so that's what he does. Kronos, now his team is dead, and so he just tries to, have a boost in his battle prowess even more with his spells, because remember, he's a wizard. This is a cool scene where he tries to take out the whole horde with a spell that just shoots through them all. Great picture there. Like I said, just the visuals of this book are powerful. Just wonderful. Fun little lettering there. And so again, now that the dragon is like a half dragon, half man, he's just, tearing Kronos down. And the fight continues between the two of them. And yeah, so they're going to keep fighting, talking shit on one another. Honestly, the visuals are powerful, but nothing's really happening in the fight scenes. As you can see, they're just like just shooting stuff at each other, and like there's nothing really creative and innovative happening with this particular battle, and they're just dialogue talking back and forth, blah blah blah. But while they're fighting, the henchman lady of the Dark Lord performs a spell, attacks Kronos with the spell while the Dark Lord is overpowering him, and transports him somewhere. And where does he get transported? Well, looks like modern day Vietnam. And so this is how the story ends. So I had no idea that was the concept of this story. So I guess the next book is he's this wizard, Doctor Strange type character from medieval fantasy Europe, whatever, and will be transported into, I said modern day Vietnam, but you know what I mean, the modern day technological age. Looks like Vietnam. A lot of it's pretty much Vietnam. A lot of books in the 80s focused on Vietnam big time, because a lot of them were Vietnam vets or a lot of the creators lived through that era. So look at the way that his muscles are rippling through the cloak, even. This is crazy. Unrealistic. Vigil is very unrealistic with his anatomy. Very Bern Hogarth type anatomy, but it's beautiful. I mean, it's rendered very beautifully. So I am excited. Just like a lot of the other SilverWolf books at the time, he has like little profiles of the characters to just kind of talk about, their height, their weight, what is their occupation, wizard, marital status, blah, 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 blah. Just a lot of it actually very pointless information. And he has that for a lot of his stuff, but whatever. So previews of some of the other things going out in SilverWolf at the time: Fat Ninja, Eradicators, Grips, blah 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 blah. And then another mail call to like start a letters page for mail, and it's actually pretty. I think it's just cut and paste from many of the others where he started, except he just changed the title. So. Another Tim Vigil book from that he was doing at the time at SilverWolf. I think I did a Psychonaut session of Nightmaster. I'll have to check, and then we'll preview cover of the Dungeoneers #2. I have Dungeoneers #1. I don't think I have #2. I might do it someday. I mean, it's okay. But anyway, so that's Dragon Quest #1. Tim Vigil. Really enjoyed it. Loved it. Hopefully I'll find #2 in a $1 box. I'd really hate to have to pay, $6, $7 shipping for a $1 book or a 50-cent book online, but I might just have to do it because I really did find it exciting and ready to find out what happens. But I think there were only 2, unfortunately. But I can finish out the series. In any case, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining me. Stay tuned for more videos. Like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. Go to my website. You can get numerous books and comics made by me. In the meantime, y'all, keep it psycho.